Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, today's video reaction is all about the video we did yesterday, which was based on Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, being a myth or him not being a myth. On today's video, I want to focus mainly on the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him. Did it happen? Did it not happen? Before we get started, please do me a favor, drop a like on the video, subscribe if you are new, and also hit the bell notification. Leave a comment as well as the video is going on. So without further ado, let's go and let's get it.
Now, who are we talking about? We're talking specifically about two people, James, the brother of Jesus, and Paul, or Saul of Tarsus, as it were. James, the brother of Jesus, did not follow Jesus during his lifetime. We see in the book of Mark that Jesus' family comes up and says to people around Jesus that he is out of his mind, basically, that he's crazy, which is what leads Jesus to say, "Who is my mother and brother and sister?" It's those who do the will of God. So Jesus' family is not on his side. It wasn't until after the resurrection, or supposedly the resurrection, when all of a sudden the disciple James becomes the brother of Jesus, James, becomes a leader of the Christian church. And also Saul of Tarsus. Who is this Saul guy? Saul was the student of Gamaliel, one of the chief leaders of the Jews in the time. This man was primed and groomed to be a leader of Jews, a leader of Pharisees. He was going to have all kinds of power in the temple. He already had all kinds of power because he was able to deliver people to prison. He was given special permission to hunt Christians down. Yet this man was willing to go to his death over and over and over again. For something. For what? He claims it was because he has seen the risen Jesus. The earliest records of Jesus' resurrection say that 500 people saw him risen at the same time.
I know that many people watch this and they think, sure, so Jesus lived in history. There was a guy by that name, sure, whatever. And some people think that he raised because people like superstition, whatever. But I don't believe in the supernatural as a default. I've predetermined that that is impossible, and so I won't even think through or entertain any version of history that includes a supernatural element. I just have to say that itself is a worldview. It's a predetermined way of viewing reality that is itself unscientific. What do I mean by that? You cannot arrive at this place where you believe that the only form of evidence that is viable is the type of evidence that can be placed under a microscope scientifically. You cannot place that claim under a microscope and measure it according to the level of scrutiny that you ask. That claim, that belief itself is unscientific. That belief itself is philosophical in nature. You've simply predetermined that something must be physically measurable in order to be considered knowable or true, and that claim is not able to be measured in that way. I now want to go to the Talmud. So I'm going to give you this as a source that he mentioned, and I'm actually going to read for you 3 examples in the Talmud where they write about this Jesus character in the first century. So here's the first one. Forgive any mispronunciations. Shabbath 104b, quote, Jesus was a magician and a fool. Next, Sanhedrin 107b of the Babylonian Talmud. Jesus performed magic and incited the people of Israel and led them astray. Sanhedrin 43a, quote, on Passover Eve, they hanged Jesus of Nazareth. He practiced sorcery, incited and led Israel astray, end quote. They call it black magic. They call it sorcery. But the point is that they're implicitly acknowledging the miraculous, even in their record, even as haters of what he did. That's very significant. Tacitus was a Roman historian, not just a dude who wrote some things down, a person who is dedicated to recording the historical events that happened during his lifetime, a Roman historian. And here's what Tacitus wrote. Christus, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of Pontius Pilate, and at a most mischievous superstition. So there you have official Roman historian conceding both the life and the death of Jesus in history, which perfectly corroborates what the scriptures, meaning the Christian historic accounts, also say. Let's continue. So Josephus Jewish historian. Again, not a believer, but a person dedicated to recording the history that happened. And here's what he said. At about this time there lived Jesus, a wise man, if indeed one ought to call him a man. For he wrought surprising feats. He was the Christ. When Pilate condemned him to be crucified, those who had come to love him did not give up their affection for him. On the third day he appeared, restored to life, and the tribe of Christians has not disappeared. That's Josephus, a Jewish historian. You have Lucian, who was actually a Greek, 2nd century Greek satirist, and this is something that Lucian said. He said, the Christians worship a man to this day, the distinguished personage who introduced their novel rites and was crucified on that account. It was impressed on them by their original lawgiver that they are all brothers from the moment that they are converted and deny the gods of Greece and worship the crucified sage and live after his laws. So you have it, and there's many more. I'm kind of cherry picking a few out just for the sake of trying to make this video short. But the point is, the historic record of Jesus and of a crucified Jesus is absolutely incontrovertible, and really no one denies this. Then you also have, like I said, the Talmud acknowledging the supernatural. They're calling it sorcery, they're calling it black magic, but they're acknowledging the supernatural works done by Jesus, just framing it in a negative light. Then you have Paul, a person who persecuted Christians, coming around to being willing to die for these claims. It's not just Paul, it's also this 500. It's also all of the people whose lives were transformed by their belief in this message. The 1st century church believed in this crucified and risen Jesus. Please consider that it is far more likely that this complicated, beautiful, vast universe is the product of an uncreated, perfect, spaceless, timeless, immaterial intelligence that we call God. That is far more likely than that all of this simply came from nothing and for no reason. If you accept the first miracle, which is creation, wouldn't it be amazing if that creator God did enter into the human story, did write himself into it like Shakespeare entering into Hamlet? God becoming a man, the Word becoming flesh, Christ with us. And for what reason? To positively change the world. Christ for all nations. Christ, the hope of glory. Christ, the myth made real. If you don't want Christianity to be true, you don't understand it rightly. If you understand it rightly, you'll see that Jesus is not only the image of the invisible God, but he's the hero that we've always longed for as a species at the deepest level of our heart. Whew. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video.
There's so much to say right now. There's so much to say about this video. There's so much to say about what was spoken about in this video, right? Particularly on the point of the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him. You know, there was a movie that I saw. It's called A Case for Christ. If you don't know the movie, please check it out. The Case for Christ. It's about this guy who goes on a search or on a mission to find out if Jesus Christ did exist and if he did die on the cross. And if he did die, what evidence surrounds his death and his resurrection. All of this came up after his wife actually started going to church and he was against it. This guy was a journalist, by the way. So in watching that movie, all of the historical facts that this guy spoke about and showed you right now is actually corroborated in the movie. Historians speak about it in the movie. Even doctors, medical doctors, they also speak about how real the death of Jesus Christ could have been medically and scientifically as well. If he was hanged on the cross, if he was lashed before going to the cross, if he was stabbed with an arrow and then water came out, blood came out, all of that is based on what, according to medical research and according to the entire human species, the body of a human being, what happens if you go through what Jesus Christ supposedly went through. So I really want you guys to check that movie out. After you check that movie out, Even if you can just check the trailer of that movie, I think it's going to point out various evidences that this guy also spoke about in this video. As far as me believing in Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, dying on the cross or him not dying on the cross, right now, as a Muslim, I'm still doing further research. I'm still going further as far as reading Jewish scholars' research, reading Christian scholars' research, reading Muslim scholar research. And so far I've found that there are some Muslims who are scholars, or there were some Muslims who were Muslims before, who were scholars and actually do believe that Jesus Christ did die on the cross based on various evidences that they came with. So right now, I'm not quite sure if you guys really do believe in the entire thing that this video spoke about. If you don't believe, please hit me up in the comments. Tell me why you don't believe Jesus Christ died on the cross. And please do not go to the Quran, because I know most people will go to the Quran, and in them leaving from the Quran, they will then conclude that definitely Jesus Christ did not die on the cross, but it was made as if he did die on the cross, and also move forward to say Jesus Christ is not God, nor did he die and resurrect. I don't want us to go that far. I want us to go as far as history and science. History and science. Let's leave the religious books a bit. History and science. If you were to go into history as well as science, would you believe that Jesus Christ did die on the cross? I know you guys always engage me in the comments, so please do so as well in this video. I really want to hear about all the other things that you guys know about that I don't know about, that this video did not speak about at all. Leave a like before you leave. We meet next time on the next reaction video. Much love. Peace.